when you are ushered and you are in the presence of God, there are things that are naturally going on in your normal life that will showcase that you are in the presence of the Most High. So, for instance, my life showcased that I've been in the presence of God by the things that I've been able to achieve in my life. Right? So if you ask the average preacher, they might tell you things that churches do, and okay, we might go, we'll give to the poor, and we'll have a prayer service, and the typical things that churches do. Some of the preachers get a little wealth because of the offerings that they're getting from the parishioners, and you know what I'm saying? But have they toppled anything? Have they conquered anything? Because the scripture says that they will know their God and do exploits in his name. So the evidence of presence is the evidence of presence is miracles and great exploits. And that's normal. Oh man, I don't want to lose you guys, but I got to give it to you guys, and you guys can come back and go through it later, but I'm going to lay it down. The evidence of presence, that you are in God's presence. Because remember, we said the lack of understanding had the Most High saddened, right? Because they didn't understand that in God's presence, there's no cares, no needs, and no wants. And then I quoted to you another scripture that says that in the presence of God, there's fullness of joy, and on his right hand, pleasures forevermore, right? So I wanted to get to this presence. So I'm explaining to you, when you get into this presence, there are things that are transpiring in your life simply because of presence. There is a place of power. There are things that are transpiring in your normal life because you are in presence. In manhood, the way that I teach it, ushered me into presence. And my life has reflected that. I said, have you seen any churches in this country do anything to submit government? No, you haven't. Yet I have submitted government through Initiative 940. I have done that. I have submitted government and people that are in government that had to come submit. Even when I was in the game, I did so many great exploits in the game that people still haven't followed to this day. Right? When I was in prison, the way that the Lord ushered me out of there, when they had made all this big old thing, try to give me life, put me on TV, and all that stuff came to naught simply because I was in presence. Because when you're in presence, you're untouchable. Until you have finished doing what you have finished doing, then you can go be with the Most High. But when you're in presence, when you are in the presence of the Most High, there is no place that is more powerful than presence. And I am ushered into God's presence because of manhood, right? I'm going back to the first man, what God initiated from the beginning. If you believe the scriptures, if you don't, you can understand the concept. So the first man, and what was pleasing to the Most High, was to make man in his image and his own likeness, right? To operate like him, to think like him. So when God said to me in the dream that in my presence, there's no cares, no needs, and no wants, right? Because he's trying to make my mind think and operate like him. So that if I'm open to that concept, if I begin to be open to that concept, then I can grow therein. So that I can start understanding the language of heaven. Because there's a language of heaven. Adam understood the language of heaven, and because he was perfect, and he believed that perfection was normal, he understood the language of heaven. He was in presence. I said, go back and listen to this 100 times. But listen, I got to give it to you. Because I'm trying to weed through all that mess, all that garbage that you has believed. And we've been conditioned to believe and socialized to believe. To break you from that mentality. To start giving you something so that opens your mind up so that you can start going into a different direction that was originally yours anyway. Right? And God made sure that before I came talking about all this stuff that I'm sharing with you, right? That I first had the receipts so that I can come with the receipts and say, this is how I did what I did. This is where I came from. This is how the Most High began to teach me. This is how I learned this, right? So that when I'm teaching you, you can say, well, you can't deny it. You can try to deny it all you want. Even the Most High said, if you don't believe me, believe the works. Even Yahawashi said that, right? So I'm saying I got the works. There's nobody that you know in this country that's been able to do what I've done. And it was simply because I was in presence. Because in the presence of God, there's fullness of joy. In the presence of God, there's no needs, no cares, and no wants. Why do you think I talk to you so much about manhood? Because I know that manhood ushers you into the presence of the Most High. And if you stay in the presence of the Most High, if you stand on manhood, willing to give your life before you compromise it in any capacity, you are going to see manifestations and great happenings like you have never before, like I have. Like I've seen God when they told me they was going to give me life. And I was sentenced in 2000 and came back home and I went to trial. I didn't take any deals because I was in presence and they couldn't stop it. They didn't know what they were dealing with. They didn't understand this concept because they don't have that information. All they have is carnal information, but they don't have this spiritual information. And most churches don't even have it. They have some of it, but they don't have it. Because if they had it, you would see the manifestations of it. This is not a time that we're just doing talking, brother.